もう死んでいる。何？
Hey, John Rowe.
The topic of the
We do a
podcast
podcast.
together
We
and
should do a
obviously I'm
podcast.
excited.
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
Hey, John. Hey, John Rowe. We should do a podcast.
The topic of the podcast together and honestly I'm excited.
G'day, dorks, and welcome to Lords of Dorktown, a podcast all about anime, cartoons, and video games. I'm your host, Phillip, and the dorks joining me tonight, well, in fact, they're not dorks, they're weebs. I have Ethan and Ricky from the Weebology Podcast joining me tonight. How are we, boys?
What is up, everybody?
Doing pretty good myself. This is Ricky.
And this is Ethan.
Oh, wow. That's the first time I've been able to tell their voices apart, so very good.
I figured we would try to give some kind of, so people kind of like, all right, that's the voice I'm listening for that name, and this is the voice listening for this name. I understand it can get confusing if we should have just said nothing and let people guess.
Yeah,
That'd
all
be
you got to
funny.
do is listen for the good points, and then you'll know who's who. It's simple.
Oh my god.
Oh man, it's so great to have you boys on the podcast. My first international guest. For anyone who doesn't know, I was on an episode of the Weebology podcast that came out last week as of recording this episode, and it was a bunch of fun, man. I had an absolute ball recording with you guys, and I couldn't wait to get you guys on Dorktown. So do you guys just want to kind of tell the dorks listening what you guys are all about?
Sure. So our podcast, the Weebology Podcast, is, just a couple of professors with a very high state-of-the-art tech anime lab, all things considered. And what we do is we talk about, anime, both, current, seasonal, sometimes anime adjacent topics, and also sometimes the classics and everything in between. The entire kind of goal that Ethan and I set out to do is we understand that anime is on the up and up. It's been on the up and up for a long time, and we kind of understand that a lot of people may kind of be, kind of anime adjacent or in kind of some fandoms, and they maybe have flirted with the idea of anime, but it maybe didn't seem digestible, or it was just too daunting of something to get into as a medium. So we wanted to come at it like understanding there will be newer folk to anime listening to our show, along with veterans of the space. And we wanted to make it comfortable for everyone on the weeb spectrum, whether you're weeb in training or you're a true degenerate. I don't care. Our show is for you, absolutely.
Yeah, great. I mean, I remember when I've listened to you boys a whole bunch. I remember like when you guys first in your first episodes, you did a great episode where you kind of went through terminology that surrounds anime and kind of explained it. And like as someone who's been around anime basically my entire adult life, there was still some phrases that I actually didn't know the actual meaning of. So that episode in particular is a great one for newbies to the anime scene to kind of get ahead of some of the jargon in the anime space. So yeah, I love what you boys do, and it's an amazing podcast. Everyone who's listening to this should definitely go check out Weebology. It's spectacular.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah, I totally
arguably
agree.
one of our, yeah. Can't have said it better myself, frankly.
Oh man,
And
well,
also, I mean, like, Phillip, you're kind of one of our better students. I mean, as someone who binged 70 episodes straight after we contacted you, that's almost
Yeah,
something
I
I
mean-
would cause for concern even. I would tell you to, I don't want to say cool it because, good student and all that, but, I'm not going to tell you.
oh no, I have unhealthy habits when it comes to binging content. It's well known. It's fine. At this point, it's a personality
known.
trait. If it continues any longer, it's a mental health problem. But we'll wait and see. We'll
No,
cross
it's
that
a
bridge when we
quirk.
get to
It's
it.
a quirk. It's all good.
It's a quirk. I love that.
Yeah.
But instead of just sitting here and blowing smoke up each other's asses, we should probably rip into some topics, boys. So what's
I mean,
been
we could do it for a couple more minutes.
yeah.
We can rip shit, no problem.
Okay, yeah. So we usually start these episodes off with a bit of what's been getting it this week for you. So anything you guys have been watching, reading, or playing that's particularly been good this week that you just wanted to bring up? Is there anything on the cards for you boys?
Yeah, I got a couple
I want
of
to hear
things.
Ethan. Yeah, I want to hear
Yeah.
Ethan's. I actually don't know what you're watching right now. I'm curious.
Yeah, go.
Well, to be really honest, my time is completely called for elsewhere. But what I am reading, I read all of basically the last half of this manhwa called Unordinary. Have you guys heard of it at all?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
So it's essentially like think My Hero Academia, except for anyone who doesn't have a quirk is treated like absolute garbage. And the main character is treated like absolute garbage.
Wow.
And
Shocker.
yeah, and so it's just kind of this interesting story where you're following this kid who, you know, for whatever reason is still like happy and enjoying his life, even though he's getting his shit rocked constantly. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. I really can't spoil it. It's similar to like Solo Leveling, where if I tell you too much, I don't want to like spoil anything like kind of big stuff. But I think it's one of the better manhwa on Webtoon or anything like that. And then obviously I'm up to date on Solo Leveling, as I just mentioned, which cannot recommend highly enough. And then all seasonals I'm on.
You're on all seasonals?
Yeah, I'm watching all of them right now.
I just subscribed to the that webtoon. I just put it in the list. I'll definitely get to that this week, because anything even slightly My Hero adjacent is something that I definitely want to be around.
Well, you're gonna finish it by tomorrow, so I guess let me know what happened. What do you think?
I'll hit you up in 4 to 6 hours. I'll tell you how it's going.
Perfect.
I actually
definitely. I was gonna say Solo Leveling. I'm not gonna say anything else. I don't have to say anything else. Read Solo Leveling. It's the best.
Yeah, I still haven't pulled the trigger on Solo Leveling. I kind of burned through Tower of God and needed to put the Webtoon app down for a few days because, for obvious reasons of my binging habits, we're getting unhealthy. But yeah, Solo Leveling. John, who appears on Dorktown all the time, is a massive fan of Solo Leveling and is constantly barking at me to read it. So I'll add that to the list as well.
It'll change your life.
Good. It will change your life. Yes,
I'm excited. I started a new series last night, a Crunchyroll original. Have either of you boys watched Onyx Equinox?
No.
Onyx Equinox to the computer.
I've never even heard it.
Yeah, so it's a Crunchyroll original. It just popped up on the Crunchyroll app over here in Oz, and I wouldn't say it's an anime. I'd say it's a cartoon. It's definitely drawn and animated more towards like a Western cartoon than a traditional Japanese anime. It's based around like the Aztec and Mayan deities. I'm only like 4 episodes in, but it's definitely got some legs. It's really visually quite interesting to watch, and the storyline is definitely cool. And someone who's like pretty obsessive with like mythology and stuff like that, and who knows absolutely nothing about Aztec and Mayan deities, like it's super interesting for me to go into. I kind of recommend it. I don't know. It's a tricky one. I'm only 4 episodes in, and I'm not quite sure where it's going to go as of yet. But it was definitely good to take a break from just anime, which is all I've been watching for like 2 weeks. So it was good to slow it down with a cartoon, change of pace.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I'm looking at the visuals now. I'm getting real kind of. It's softer than Castlevania. It's a little softer than anything out of Powerhouse from an edgy kind of visual standpoint. It is kind of leaning into, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra kind of realm
I'd definitely
of
put it
aesthetic.
into that category. Yeah.
Yeah, the eyes are a little bit different. The aesthetic is a little softer, but it looks very, from a design standpoint, visually very interesting. I'm looking at some stills and I'm like, okay, I can vibe.
It sort of looks like Blood of Zeus.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of vibe of animation, and like all those the Blood of Zeus, the Castlevanias, it all, for some reason, they all obsess on how blood's animated, and blood's really important in this series because of blood tributes are a thing.
Yeah, because that's what they do down there.
I didn't want to say it that way, but yeah, sure.
That's true.
Apparently it is true. So yeah, and the blood animation in this is really on point. It's visually quite striking whenever there's a big pools of blood on the screen. You should watch the movie Apocalypto if you want to learn about like how that stuff worked in real life. I'm googling it.
Yeah.
Hold up, I'm googling it.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty raw. It gets into it for sure.
Okay, yeah, I've definitely seen that poster. Is it a bit scary?
It's very gory. I wouldn't call it scary,
Well,
but
if Ethan watched it, it's good on the scare factor, only because Ethan really doesn't do scary either.
Yeah, neither do I.
See, I'm a horror junkie. I love that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm into some horror, but wow.
Have you ever fucked with some super like horror anime? Because I've never really fucked with that category.
So yeah, here and there. If you want my honest opinion, I think there is a huge underrepresentation of quality horror anime that might change with Junji Ito's Uzumaki being made into an anime, which arguably is one of the best horror mangakas out there. Just his mind is just this, it's very twisted, but the way he can panel is just chef's kiss, so good, very
good.
horrifying.
I mean, it would make sense for the medium of anime to be heavily populated with good horror anime, because there's just so much you can do in that medium. So it kind of surprises me that hearing that there's not a lot of great horror anime out there. That's honestly quite surprising.
If you want a reason why I think that is, and I think we've talked about it on our show a little bit, but it's because of what you kind of just said, right? Is that, there's a lot of gory, edgy anime. I mean, Tokyo Ghoul is one of the most popular kind of like thriller, horror, shonen kind of signing. And it's because they realized at some point, maybe in the 2000s, that, hey, wait a minute, these are adult cartoons. We can do whatever we want to and push the boundaries. So there's kind of been this cementing of horror and anime equals gore and edge. And that's really it. Right? There's not a lot of psych stuff. There's not a lot of psychological, like the real horror you see in some of the really popular live-action horror movies. So is that coming around? Maybe. I need to do more research. This professor's got to study up. That's how it's got to be. But I've seen some okay ones. Perfect Blue and Paprika. There's I forgot his name, but those collection of stories are quite superb for horror anime. Recommend them.
Oh, awesome! I might have to check. Yeah, I am a bit of a scaredy cat. Like I do get a bit scared when it comes to horror. But I do want to broaden my horizons with some horror anime, because I'm sure I would enjoy it. Speaking of super edgy anime, do you boys hear or read all that controversy that came out? I think it was last week with Redo the Healer's first episode dropping.
Wait, I saw it. Kind of. If you want to give me a synopsis of what everyone's rustled about, I saw a headline, I just didn't read it. Yeah.
So Redo the Healer, it's like its first episode kind of came out. I think it was last week, and I think it might have even been late December, or at least got a Western release last week. And it just sparked this big controversy again, because it's highly sexual, highly violent. There's some rape stuff in it. A lot of people comparing it to along the lines of Interspecies Reviewer and the pilot episode of Goblin Slayer.
There it is. Yeah,
a pilot episode that still is with me to this day from watching it. I haven't quite shaken its effects on me quite yet.
It's quite jarring. It's quite jarring. Well, I get it.
The story. Oh man, there's a story behind me in the first episode of Goblin Slayer. I don't know if I've actually mentioned it on this podcast before, but I'll say it again. So, a regular guest on Dorktown is a guy by the name of Jason, and he's a massive isekai anime fan. And anytime he recommends anything, I usually go in straight away, because he's usually on the money, and we do line up in taste pretty similarly. So he recommended me to watch Goblin Slayer, and one night it was 3:00 in the morning. I was pretty dusty. I think I had a few drinks, but I was starting to sober up, and I was just in a real vulnerable state. And I'd finished watching up. No. Yeah, I know, off to a cracker. And I'd finished watching everything else on my watch list, and Goblin Slayer was on there, so I chucked it on. The wife was in bed, the kids were sleeping. It was a calm, peaceful night. I was feeling vulnerable, and I was a bit dusty. It was like the stars aligned in the worst possible way, and the next 30 minutes were me holding back tears and fighting to get the remote in my hand quick enough so I could just erase this from my screen. It honestly ruined me. I contemplated taking a sick day the next day because I was just so...
Oh my God, man.
Oh, dude.
I was just so vulnerable,
sorry.
man. And it was just like, there was one scene in particular that got to me, and it's the scene everyone knows, and I don't really want to go into it.
Yeah.
But there was one frame where you can see like a little hand jerking motion, like someone was jerking off in the background, and it fucking cemented into my brain, and it's all I can see.
My God.
If I close my eyes at night and it's a still night outside, I can just see it just vibrating in my head.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No, Steve really did a number on you, dude. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, I was vulnerable at the time. It's fine.
And anime giveth and anime taketh away.
Yeah,
It's
I remember.
true.
I think the next week after that, the only anime I watched was shows I've watched previously that I know are just like super wholesome. Like I watched my first slice of life anime that week because I was like, I need something where there's definitely not going to be any rape in it. Just no. I need just
Steer
nice.
clear.
Yeah, that might
Yo,
have.
imagine. Oh no. Imagine
Yeah.
going into a Blockbuster, right? And that is your criteria. You say to the guy at the counter, it's like, "Hey, welcome to Blockbuster. What can I get for you? What kind of movie you looking for?" Nothing with rape. That's it. That's it. That's it. I think that really is. That's the bar. So anything you got, and you just the store.
Yeah,
for
I have a feeling
everything.
that it's going to be a hard sell for Blockbuster, which literally doesn't have a store left. But
True. It's the only apt thing I can come up with. Just I don't know. I just love the idea. You just like begging Crunchyroll, like, please, nothing with the rape tag.
yeah,
Anything.
Well, first of all, there should be tags. I think when that kind of stuff is involved.
There
Personally,
probably was, buddy. There probably was, but I was just
There's
clicking
no
on a
way.
recommendation. I
feel
remember ringing Jason, who recommended it to me the next day, and just kind of teeing off on him a fair bit because I was like, I gave him the whole speech. I went off. I was like, you stood at the aisle at my wedding. How dare you? A sense of betrayal.
Do this to me.
A sense of betrayal I've never felt before. It was quite a remarkable experience. But yeah, Redo the Healer apparently hit some of the same beats and sparked this controversy that these shows tend to do every time they come out, whereas, you know, is this appropriate to be animated, you know, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Where do you guys kind of sit on that spectrum?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a certain moment where you kind of watch some shows and you're wondering, you know, are they showing this because they can, or is this something that really is story canonically like a necessity, right? I get a similar vibe with fan service sometimes, you know, and I have a lot to say about that given the show we're going to talk about today.
Oh boy,
but,
me too.
You know, yeah, right? And I
Me
think
three.
when another show we got that made me ask similar questions is Beastars, right? Is this a story that can be told in no other way than the way it's being told, right? The first episode of Goblin Slayer, you know, fan servicey shows that aren't explicitly like Ichi or whatever, you know, anthropomorphic animals instead of human beings. Can the story that they're trying to tell be told in any other way or not? And if the answer is no, because it's just well written for what it is, I gotta let it go. I mean, fan service, if it plays, it plays. If it's tasteful, it's tasteful. With first episode of Goblin Slayer, I'd argue you didn't need to have any of that in there. You could probably have told a compelling... I did. I'm just saying. You do not have to have the first episode of Goblin Slayer go the way it did, and you could probably still tell that story, right?
Yeah,
you didn't have to have all that
stuff
there.
is completely unnecessary in my opinion. I think it is just there for shock value, and I mean, if it's there for shock value alone, it achieved its goal.
I was gonna say it shocked you.
exponentially. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my take. That's my take. I mean, if it were taken out and the whole show wouldn't work, got to keep it in. They wrote it around there, and you may not like it, but I mean, it's part of the story that they have to tell. But in this case, in Goblin Slayer's case, it didn't have to be there at all. So,
Yeah, I think my position on it is like a little more complicated because I think, there's a certain point where, if it's the artist's story that they want to tell and they want to tell it, like, let them do them. But I do like absolutely agree that in a lot of these cases, like, you didn't need to do it this way. And it does feel very like, in an effort to find the shock and awe and, get your show some like quick little, notoriety or whatever you want to call it, infamy, let's just say, and get people talking about your show. So it definitely, I don't think is obviously necessary. There's a lot of shows where I think, they can use it well, potentially, if it's about that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think if they were to show like the traumas that these kind of scenarios impose on people to help people in the real world, like start coming to bear, grips with what's happened to them and stuff like that. Or say you have family members that this stuff has happened to. Like, I could see you could use this stuff for good, but I just don't feel like that's really the goal in most anime. And it definitely like concerns me that, let's just say some people that probably shouldn't be watching that kind of stuff are, you know what I mean? Just like people sort of already at their wit's end or like a little bit disjointed from humanity already. Like, that's the kind of shit they love.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean,
That's a good point.
If anyone has Goblin Slayer in there is their number one pick for best anime of all time, like, I feel like that's definitely warrant for them to be on some sort of list.
Yeah, I don't know what list that is yet. But
Someone should
they
be
need
watching
to be on
them
it.
regardless. Someone should
Yeah.
be maybe tracking their movements, just maybe watching their online activity. I don't know. I'm not one to advocate for a complete watchdog state, but if Goblin Slayer is your favorite anime, yeah, let's keep an eye on you.
It's warranted. Let's
keep
be
an eye on
real.
you.
Let's
Yeah.
be
And if
real.
if you've watched Goblin Slayer, that's kind of a segue into stuff that's kind of getting me this recently this season. The Most Happy Anime has a season 2. The Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone, if you want to feel good, if you just want to feel wholesome, just go watch it. It's an isekai, sure, but it's about a slime that can do anything like a god.
It's so good. It's like unnecessarily
So
good.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it on your guys' podcast last week, and I definitely mentioned it on my podcast the week before. But man, Skate the Infinite is still just a slice of wholesomeness about skating that is warming my heart to this day. I fucking love that show.
Okay, that I got to put that on my list because I think after recording, I need to watch that show because you're not the first person to tell me about how good that show is already. Someone at work told me about it. I was like, all right. Okay.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, especially for a Bones production, like an in-studio production, it's definitely swinging hard straight out of the gate.
Yeah, and I also started watching one that felt kind of in the slime camp. I'm a Spider, So What?
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
It is okay. So I understand what they're doing. Like they're kind of getting into. I can't tell if slime is like wedging a sub isekai genre in this case. It definitely feels like it's trying to derive a little bit from slime in some capacities, but it's okay. Will I continue? I don't know. But again, it gives us somehow a little bit of warm and fuzzies. The spiders are cute. They're very adorable little white spiders. And
It looks atrocious.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm having an okay time. I don't know if it'll... there's so much better this season right now. It is not one... like, maybe after, 5 episodes at a time pass and I have nothing to do on a Sunday, I'm like, all right, I've already watched everything. The barrel is dry. Let's go watch a spider. So what? Okay, so what? I'm watching a spider. So what?
Have you guys talked about how ridiculously good this season of anime is? Like it's grossly packed. Like
we can't shut up about it.
It's so gross.
Good.
Like every time I log onto the apps and see like the new episodes of everything coming out, I'm just like, oh, what is happening? No, it's too much. It's too good.
Yeah,
I don't have the time.
Tuesdays and Fridays are great days, and
yeah, Monday's been an absolute joy. This whole thing with the final season of Attack on Titan hitting our shores. Yep. Oh man,
Pick it up Wednesday. Jesus, All the other days around here just like carrying their weight. Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Wednesday, where are you? Get after here. Get on your game. There's nothing comes out Wednesday.
No, I don't. I can't think of anything. Maybe we get Black Arrow Wednesdays. I'm not sure.
What's Black Arrow?
It's like a mecha kind of post. Very similar to like your Gurren Lagann and stuff like that.
Huh.
It's
Curious.
I don't know. It's interesting. I think I like the visuals more than I like anything else so far. I don't know. I'll probably
CGI?
stick out. No, not yet. I haven't seen any atrocious CGI yet.
Good start. Good
That's all I
start.
wanted, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm too fresh into it where I haven't really formed an opinion. I put it on in the background when I was editing like last night, I think, or the night before. And it just kind of like I picked up on a few things and I was definitely vibing it. But yeah, it's too early to form an opinion. But I'll definitely keep watching it. I'll definitely watch that over the Spider Show 100%.
Hey.
I would too.
Hey. I'm just
Don't
on a
feel
hunt
bad.
for wholesome, y'all. I'm on a hunt for wholesome, y'all. That's all I want. Just a little wholesome that I guess isn't necessarily slice of life. And I know there's
Yeah.
gonna be people upset at me for saying that, but it just doesn't
man.
get my goat, my gander. But some slice of lives do.
Yeah, I struggle.
Some
I
of them
struggle
will
with
get there.
slice of lives. I've come to the conclusion it's just not for me. I am a
that's
giant
fine.
shonen fuckboy. And speaking of giant shonen fuckboys, we should probably rip into the main topic, boys. We're talking Fire
It's
Force
time.
season 1 and 2. Let's hear that intro. Shinra Kusakabe, a third-generation pyrokinetic who gained the nickname Devil's Footprint for his ability to ignite his feet at will. He joins the Special Fire Force Company 8, an elite firefighting team who specialize in combating spontaneous human combustion. Shinra is determined to end this new plight on humanity and get revenge for the death of his mother and brother 12 years ago. But a mysterious doomsday cult is working from the shadows and may just be holding the key to spontaneous human combustion. Now, let's dive in to Fire Force Season 1 and 2.
Take what you got and leave now. You're burning out, you're welcome. No one here wants to see you cheer, yeah. Think that you won from day one, but the devil will come. You know just why he wants you, don't you? Construction, desire, left us in stress, so right. Misguided, divided, it's a point of no return. You started a fire, you're trying to watch it burn.
Try to save yourself like you always do.
Every bridge we build, you think it doesn't burn it down, just burn it down. When everything is gone, you wish you only heard us out, screaming
So Fire Force Season 1 and 2. So you boys clocked both seasons for this review?
I have, yes.
We have indeed.
Very good. I'm so very proud. So was this
you.
your first experience with Fire Force watching this, or was this a rewatch for you boys?
So, I actually watched it as it came out, both season 1 and season 2, but I rewatched season 1 because season 2 is still fresh. I still got all the deets in my head. But
Yeah.
season 1, I give it a lot of shit on our show. And I have a case to be made why that almost made season 2 better than I think season 2 actually is, but better just by comparison to season 1.
I mean, you're not the only one who gave shit to Season 1. Season 1 got hopped a whole bunch of hate when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna find this absolutely wild. I think season 1 was infinitely better than season 2.
Oh, fuck off. No way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with him, sorry.
What?
Season 1's way better.
Like infinitely better.
Yeah.
Like they
Okay,
are
okay.
hardly the same show.
Yeah, season one
All right.
is so tight when it comes to pacing, like how they unravel the mystery and how everything kind of is paced out in season one, where season two is just like, season two feels like they took the show and then sped it up pacing and everything wise like 1,000,000%, and it's unrelenting, and it's kind of a bit much for most of season two, I find.
Okay. So I felt that season one, they were focusing a lot on, the lore was good, and that's something I did celebrate from the rip. Like, I do think the lore and the backdrop of the world is very fascinating. It's something that the mangaka of Soul Eater could. It's his work. It's clearly good, but
Yeah.
I felt like there's a couple reasons. One, remember earlier in the show, I was talking about where fan service does not belong, and I use Fire Force season one as like the poster child for when things get tense. Suddenly, boom, fan service, and you're like, it doesn't cut everything down for me, but I'm like, I'm engaged in whatever they were doing, and now they're like, clearly fan service is not unintentional. They put it there for a reason. I don't really know what the reason is. So I mean, I felt that from a character standpoint, very disjunct. I didn't get a lot of backstory to some of the characters I was hoping for, and I think season two cleared that up a lot for me, for the ones I was interested in, from a character standpoint at least.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think season one was more like everything felt like it made sense in a way, right? Because we don't know much about the world yet. So, a lot of the character reactions and stuff like that make sense at that point. And then for me, season two was just like they're getting shut down left and right. They find out this insane mystery and they're just like, well, we're fucked. And then like just absolute calamity ensues near the end of the season. And then that fan service you say that you don't like about season one gets ramped up to 10 billion and in the end of season two. And it's like there's literally 2 whole episodes where Maki whatever her name is, Tamaki literally just doesn't have clothes.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a bunch of that. I mean, there's a bunch of that in season one as well. I mean,
Do we
maybe
just want to rip the Band-Aid off and just talk about Tamaki for like the first 5-10 minutes and then just forget about her I'm trying to?
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm down.
I
Yeah.
fucking hate the Lucky Lua syndrome. I hate her design. I hate her as a character. I think she actively detracts so much from this series. And I am searching the internet for a cut version of Fire Force where they just edit out all her scenes, because I feel like that show is a magnitudes better. I can't think of
I
anything
agree.
redeeming about that character. She's not even fun to watch in fight scenes.
Because
No,
she
she's not.
lost her entire ability to fight now. It's like ridiculous.
They basically sidled her
Yeah.
up as a second nun now. That's all she is.
Right. And what's funny is she was the main reason why I was not a big fan of season one, because of all that. And it's almost as if, I say there's a lot of fan service, but in reality, the writer or whoever was responsible for this funneled all of the fan service, or at least the grand majority of it, into her character. And this is a common issue in a lot of anime where it's like they have a character that's completely relegated to just being a vessel of fan service, and that's all they're good for. And it's almost instead of writing the ship for her character, they recognized it and made her a nun. They literally sidelined her because she was almost like fan servicing and not getting anything done. She wasn't progressing. So I mean, I have to agree, she really isn't my thing. And I'm kind of all twin pigtailed, burnt out. I've said it on my show. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just bored of the design. I don't know.
Yeah, it's uninspired at this point for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think she acts like such a bratty child too. Like I think if her character had any redeeming qualities whatsoever, like I think it'd be okay. Like at the end of season one, for instance, when she actually like reached out and called for Shinra to come help her, I'm like, okay, she's making progress where she's not going to be a complete asshole, the next season. And then she turns out to be like, first of all, relegated to only being a nun, essentially, where she's not even fighting anymore. and which whatever, she was never really like that good of a fighter to begin with. And
No,
then
she really
secondly, and then now when she's being a nun, she's just like extra prone to having all her shit ripped off. It's just like it's a little bit like ridiculous.
And I mean,
That's fair.
as you were saying before, like there is other fan service characters in this series. Like you have Hinaba, or how's it pronounced? Yeah,
Hibana,
Hibana. Yeah, she from Company 5. Like she is a fan service character, but also one with a good backstory, some interesting character quirks, and
my biggest problem with season 2.
and your
Not
biggest
enough
problem was-
Hibana.
Oh, I was gonna
Not
say. Yeah, that's fair. I would almost agree with you on that one. If I didn't find the constant BDSM nature of all her company just a touch upsetting, just on a personal level. Just every scene where they're in and they're like, she's stepping on them and they're just like, oh, please, mistress, more. I'm like, I'm watching this at work. Can you not for 5 minutes?
I'm watching this at work.
I just, yeah.
You know,
but-
in that light though, I think her getting clocked by Shinra in season 1 maybe was more consistent with her character of why she's enamored with him, because she's been stepping all over people and punching them for years. Someone finally did it back and she's like, oh my god, I want you. Maybe that's consistent. I'm not even sure.
I mean, yeah, I would probably that seems like an easy line of logic to follow. You boys mentioned it a few times, but the creator of this series, Atsui Okubo, is also the creator of Soul Eater, which is one of my all-time favorite animes of all times. It's a comfort food of anime for me at this point. I think this might be a better example of what he's best at when it comes to being a manga artist, and it's pure world building. His ability to world build is phenomenal. Like the Tokyo Empire feels
hell
like
yeah.
such a fleshed out and real place, and everything about the generations of pyrokinetics and the spontaneous human combustions and the infernals and all that stuff, and the way the Fire Force as a whole functions as these separate entities that fall under their different kind of guiding forces, whether it be the Soul Holy Temple or the big industry, Hibachi industry or whatever it's called. It's definitely not that. Yeah, that's it. Or the military. Like it's so amazing how good he is at world building, and I feel like if he's world building and maybe a better story writer were to meet up and collab on something, it could be potentially one of the best things ever made.
Well, I think what he did with his story was pretty bad, honestly. Like, so he put up all these cool, like, monoliths to basically look at, like you're saying, the church, all the Fire Force companies, the army, Haijima. And then in this season, he has them all, like, work together, essentially, which to me seems like it shouldn't be happening. Like, I don't know if that's how you guys felt, but, like, it felt like they just instantly in the middle of the season were like, you know what, we're all boys now, and we're going to all help the 8th. And it felt like the whole point of the first season was that there was resistance within these organizations, and the 8th was supposed to go in and investigate that. And then now they took the whole point of it away.
Yeah, I think the midpoint of
okay.
season 2, where the big industry kind of automatically is just after one meeting just signs up with Company 8 to build the new Amaterasu that's not powered by spoiler alert, not powered by any humans with a dollar burst. They immediately were just like, yeah, okay, if you think you can do it, we'll do it. We'll back you 100% financially, and yada yada yada. I'm like, there's no conflict here. The conflict that was here before is now vanished, and we're only left with the villains that are the White Clads and the Evangelist, who, quite frankly, I don't think have a strong enough, are strong enough alone to be the sole villain in this series. I liked it when we had these different opposing forces, and now that it's just the White Clads and the Evangelist, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I suppose.
Are you guys finding
Okay.
it like weird as shit that they just keep leaving Shinra by him like alone, even though they're capturing all these other pillars?
I did find that a little weird. I found that a little weird. I mean, but it's not so weird that it would be incredibly inconsistent, because I mean, he's got an Adoa burst, and I mean, he is by all accounts one of the most raw, powerful characters, maybe behind like, Benny Hama or whatever. I'm just gonna call him Benny, but I mean, it is fascinating how I took it as an implicit trust in basically Shinra able to protect himself, right? Maybe too much trust, but at least I found it consistent, at least a little bit.
No. I mean, why are the White Clad not capturing him?
I don't think they can, to be honest. I mean, with his speed alone, I think Sho would probably be the only character who could potentially stop him. But speed alone,
Haumea could fuck
Shinra's
him up easy.
Oh, yeah, but Haumea's doing fucking whatever Haumea wants to do. As a character, I find her motivations and drive to be completely random with seemingly no structure behind
She's
them.
better than Inca. I can't stand Inca.
Yeah.
I don't like Ika much.
She's
better. But I will say,
my least favorite character in this entire series by far.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's definitely just got a whole watch the world burn mentality, which is kind of played out at this point.
It's also just straight up a boring mentality. Like, I want to be near danger.
I wanted to mention.
Go ahead.
Just two things I wanted to mention. One, I do think the White Clad's plan, it's what it looks like. I even thought they might have said it or a throwaway line, but just the vibe is they're going after more pillars to bolster their ranks to the point where there is not a chance of losing to Shinra and Co., Like, that there wouldn't be even a reason why, even if they had the entire backing of the Fire Soldiers, that they would still win, which is what it seemed to me at the beginning of Season 2, where they went and captured a newly awakened one. So it's obvious that they're after other pillars. And
I read
the
that,
motivation...
Well, I watched that as
that
they need the pillars because the pillars are crucial for their doomsday plan.
Yeah. That is the ultimate goal. But in terms of ordering by which they get them, they're like, all right, Shinra's actually pretty dope. He survived against Sho. I mean, like, the fastest dude that can literally stop time. That's a problem. Let's go make sure we have all the other pillars to make this. It's almost like, the tailed beast from Naruto, right? They go and grab everybody else, really, before they have to get to the big guys, like the ones that could really fuck some shit up, right?
Yeah, I suppose you don't go
that's how I
after
see
Kurama when the one tail's still running about. Makes sense.
Exactly. We can just grab the other 7 real casually, which they did in 2-man cells, which is what they're trying to do. Right, they're trying to do that with Shinra, basically, when they come back with every pillar besides him. It's like, well, shit, this is going to be no win for me, guys. I'm just going to go with them. And that's
my counter to that argument is when Charon kicked the shit out of Shinra and left him there, like, fainted, why wouldn't he just take him with him? Like, it makes no sense to me. Their motivations are, like, all over the place, and that's what kind of really pissed me off about the second season. Is the first season we knew what they wanted to do, and they were a good enemy. And then this season, they're, like, helping them often. They're, like, doing all this weird stuff. Like, imagine instead of what we got Shinra captured, and then we get to watch our boys in the 8th go fight into the White Clad and grab Shinra back. Like, imagine if that's, like, Shinra retrieval arc.
Yeah, that would be better. And I mean, as you said, like, the White Clad, not only did they leave Shinra there when they could have captured him, but they also left another pillar with Hajime Industries too, because they were just like, oh no, he's got a protector, we'll come back and get him later. Just fucking get him now. What are you doing?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
That's
why
fair.
why wait so they can be stronger and move and know that you're going to come back and get him at some point? Like, yeah, they're wildly inconsistent throughout this series.
Okay.
Also, can
Y'all
we
have
talk about the
convinced
fact that the White Clad's feet? What the fuck is up with their uniform and their feet? They have little stumpy hoof things shoes. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but it drove me insane.
Oh, I noticed it. Cloven hoof shoes. It's a fashion piece. I don't know.
Why? To me, that means every single White Clad that you see has to be wearing high heels. Otherwise, the dimensions of their feet don't work. So
That's their initiation.
Sho's maybe 3 foot tall with like a 4-inch heel at this point. Like, I don't get it.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
you know what? You guys
I
have
don't get it
convinced me on that point. You guys convinced me on the White Clad season 2. There's enough there where it's definitely weaker as an antagonistic force. I guess really because I'm trying to think. what was it about season 1 I didn't like? And I think what it was the world building. Hear me out. It's not actually the world building. It's that the story focused on the infighting from the outset after giving me just a little bitty taste of what looks like a beautiful, sprawling world of lore and religion versus technology and militaristic might. And then boom, you have like the majority of the first season with infighting within the Fire Soldier Regiment. And I'm like, when season 2 hit and I finally got to go outside of Neo Tokyo, I finally got to go outside of that and see what the world outside is like, because the Calamity was clearly not just Tokyo. That was the moment I was like, yes, this is what I wanted from the beginning, an exploration of the world, because it's sprawling and somehow both desolate and bursting with intrigue at the same time. And I don't know. I think that's what enamored me about the second season, is he finally kind of got his breathing room and really started to do some actual world building and stopped. And maybe that was too rushed the way they did it. The way you said they just started to cooperate. Okay, I'll concede that was unusually just, oh, we're all on the same or against the same goal of trying to figure out what the hell's going on with the Matarasu and Ndola and all that stuff. I'll admit that was a bit quick. But for me, it was like, yeah, fucking, I don't give a shit about the infighting. I don't care. That's peanuts compared to the rest of the world and what's actually going on here, because I'm really curious. So maybe curiosity got the better of me, and season 2 answered some questions I was kind of left with. Well, but I didn't see the bigger picture. I don't know.
I think the craziest thing, right, is they come back from that mission to China or wherever it was. I think it was supposed to be China. And they say, they like basically take what they know to be their Bible verses and basically say it's all lies. And everyone essentially instantly like acknowledges that that's the truth rather than like fighting it. Like I'm just confused. Like he set up this world to be like a fervent religious world where they, worship the sun. And then they come back and they say, oh, actually the big bad created this religion. And everyone's just like, okay, yeah, the big bad created this religion. It just seems like very like a scatterbrained plot currently. Like I still think this show has some of the best visuals out of any show ever. But like it is absolutely all over the place. It is all over the place plot-wise.
Well, to your point that first the first bit of the second season when they finally get out of the Tokyo Empire and they travel to the Chinese Peninsula, I would argue that arc is good, that we get to get a bit more world building and we get out of the Empire. But also, what actually comes of that arc is what we get, the reveal that the Holy Soul Temple is not what it seems, and that maybe that there's a human being powering Amaterasu. As a viewer, we all guessed that. We all knew that. So why make that reveal like it's something big? Why not make that reveal the same way they make the reveal of Light being a Hajime spy, where they say, oh, I'm a Hajime spy, and everyone's like, yeah, we figured. Like, everyone,
no shit.
Everyone knew that going into it. I don't know about you guys, but I just assumed that this, a perpetual energy machine that was powered by flame in a world where spontaneous human combustions and pyrokinetics are a thing. I'm like, oh, so there's obviously a person in the middle of that, right? Like, where
I
else
actually didn't.
Oh, okay. Fuck, am I smart? Oh my god.
But I think it's because they never really they never really made that anywhere like implied. So it absolutely is a galaxy brain move here, because as far as I could tell. I mean, then again, I'm like kind of struggling to follow the plot a little bit because, like I said, it's like all fucking over the place. And also, all the stuff I care about does not seem to be getting like answered or mentioned at all. And we're going through like this weird roller coaster of plot lines. Like in the beginning of season 2, right? We felt like we were on the way to figuring out like why, what's up with Shinra's mom and, what happened that day. And then they cut away after they go talk to the captain of the 4th. And then they start doing all this Chinese peninsula shit. And it's like, yeah, it's sort of headed in the same direction, but then it flips them in a completely different direction. And I don't know. I feel like I'm just getting whiplash here trying to follow what the hell's going on. And that's not something that's like common for me.
Yeah, the pacing and the storytelling in this series is fucking wild from woe to go. Like it's all over the shop. Like there is some plot lines and storylines that get wrapped up the same episode that they come up, and there's some that get mentioned and then maybe tangentially wrapped up later. Like the big infernal that they face in the start of season 1, they never kind of react to that the way that they should react to that, where it's like, well, what is this thing? Where did this come from? It's kind of there. They defeat it, move on, and then it's later in that season where we meet the white clad lady who makes those big infernals. And then they're like, oh, she made the big infernal from the first one. I'm like, yeah, but you guys weren't ever really that curious, it seems, about that infernal. You just kind of dealt with it and moved on. So I don't know.
They also shit on it. It was like bad how bad they beat it.
Yeah, they fucking ruined that thing. That's something I do want to talk about too. The demons that they face, wildly inconsistent when it comes to threat level from a viewer perspective, because the demon that they face by themselves, where Benny isn't there to kill it, when they're coming up with their plan, it's just meandering to the side, not really doing any damage, just kind of walking about, and they just kind of vaguely lure it to where it needs to be, and it never really seems threatening. It just seems hard to kill. It's never doing anything that seems super duper threatening.
Yeah, that's a good point. Interesting. I guess I have a question. I had a question because I'm willing to, see past. Listen, I haven't talked about it critically yet. We haven't talked about it like kind of to break it down. But I mean,
there's chinks in his armor.
Yeah, there's chinks in the armor.
Attack, Phillip, attack.
Oh, I will. Don't worry. I got shots in the chamber. Here we go.
Here's the thing. I am enamored by Sakuga. There, I said it on your show, but I'm a broken record on mine because it's like, yes, I'm enamored by beautiful animation. That is what a mass show on all accounts, but is drawn beautifully. I'll rank way higher than it should be. But here on this show, I am willing to let down the wall of my high hill and the opinion I stand on and see what's like. Kind of ask critically. So I think with the pacing issue, do you think that this narrative, the story, has more world than the story itself allows, right? Because the fact that they have to whiplash means there's so much to touch on in a world that is, as we've said, beautifully dense with so many things to talk about and to have storylines about. Do you think that they're just biting off more than they can chew with the story and then just kind of whiplashing around? Is that the reason why it feels whiplashy?
They're just
rushing.
rushing.
Tell everything.
Yeah. It feels rushed. It feels like these 2 seasons could have played out over 4, and it would have been fine. I feel like it wouldn't have been too slow paced. And in fact, I find the moments where they slow down this show and they kind of take a moment to breathe, and we actually get some time to kind of sit and kind of enjoy the world that they've built and enjoy the characters that they've kind of created. Are the better moments of this show. It's weird that they've rushed it so far, and I kind of understand why they're rushing it, because if you were to the first time I watched this show, I did not think any of these critical thoughts whatsoever, because the whole time I was just fucking on the edge of my seat going, fuck me, how good is fire? Give me more fire. I love everything that's happening right now.
I'm there for it.
Yeah, but it's only on like when you look at it and actually kind of try and piece together the story or try and have some critical thought about it, where you're just kind of left being like, oh, yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing here.
Damn it, Phillip, you made me think.
I know it's
and
terrible,
now everything's
right?
ruined. You made me think.
Mistake.
You made me apply. Big mistake.
Okay,
what you just said though about it slowing down and breathing. Thinking back, I'm thinking of like my favorite episodes from season 2, and the one, I think it's called Dark Hero, about Victor, and kind of showing you really kind of his, just his kind of day-to-day about him interacting with the 8th, and then finding out he interacts with Hajime, and that felt very slow, almost like a weird noir moment in an action shonen, and I really actually enjoyed that episode that kind of dove into Victor as an individual, that he's really doesn't technically have any allegiances, but whatever gets him closest to quote unquote the truth is where he will align himself with. I found that one of the most compelling episodes of season 2, and it's kind of what you said. They weren't kicking, they weren't blowing fire. It was just very subdued, and maybe they need to do that more often.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree on that. And as all these negative or seemingly negative things we say about it, that all for me almost entirely falls to the wayside whenever the Ashen Reaper is fighting, because fuck me, I love that dude, man.
Hell yeah.
Oh, and Benny Harmer, like, his arc in the first season, like that arc is great. Him being this, proto-nationalist and watching this whole kind of town of knuckleheads completely cheering as rain, death, and destruction is sent from the heavens by Benny Harmer is it's so good, man. It's so amazing.
The god of destruction.
Oh, so good.
Benny Harmer's my favorite character.
Yeah, same.
Easy. Yeah, same. I do have a question for you boys. I assume you guys have watched Soul Eater as well, or read Soul Eater.
Yes.
So Atsubi, the creator of this, Atsui Okabu, does he hate King Arthur mythos? It seems like he does. Because Excalibur in Soul Eater is fucking awful. And
Fools.
Arthur in this show is probably the dumbest character ever committed to screen. He's that dumb where I question his ability to breathe in and out on a regular basis.
Unless you tell him breathing will save the princess. Then he'll do it all day.
So do you think he hates King Arthur mythos, or is this his friendly homage to it? What do you think?
I think that's a very interesting question, because I don't think if you really hated something this much, you'd include it in all of your stories. I think that'd be a little bit aggressive.
That's the kind of passive aggressive I'm here for, though. Fuck if
I just don't see it. I mean, it's a lot of effort and money to put that into your show if you actually hate it. I think it's probably supposed to be like a lighthearted, like, jab / homage toward it. You know what I mean? Like, how dumb is this fucking, story? You know what I mean? But then he's creating his own story that's, equally as, let's just say, crazy, especially with like, the death gods and stuff like that in Soul Eater and the Meisters and all that. Like, I think he's just saying like, this is my version of this, you know what I mean? And he thinks his is better, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. What did you think of Arthur as the character in Fire Force?
I found him funny. I mean, in terms of, like, he gave me more of the opinion I think you were looking for about his take on, Arthurian mythos and stories of that nature, is that I think he's not necessarily hating on it. It's a recognition, clearly, but I think he's subverting it for comedic aspects. Because if you think about those myths and those stories that take after or use that story tropes from the Legends of Arthur and stuff like that, they're very regal. They're very, they're very kind of gold clad in Western myth, right? It's, he's the king, he's the chosen one. But in both cases, in his stories, they're always comedic relief, right? Excalibur was comedic, Arthur is comedic, and I think that he is just using this gold-clad mythos and turning it on its head for comedy's sake, which it works for me. I find both of those characters actually pretty funny on screen. Useful? No, but funny all the same.
I can't believe we're talking about this and not recognizing like the origin of this whole weird thing he's got going on is because he was left as a little kid by himself in his house and his parents just ditched him.
Yeah, can we take a moment just to, like, I don't know, weep openly about how fucking sad that backstory is?
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Really sad.
Heinous.
So how can you get on this kid when he's just like, he's doing anything he can to kind of, I guess, make his world make sense. You know what I mean?
To deal
and I
with
don't
the
blame him
PTSD
for that.
he's clearly suffering with?
100%. Like, that's 100% what this is. And then I thought he had a great character moment this season when early on when Shinra's like going full demon, and he basically is like, "Oh, I thought you wanted to be a hero," just kind of like engaging who Shinra is, right, and reinforcing who Shinra is. And I thought he had a lot of great development this season. Maybe not like development, but like a lot of good moments. Let's just say, because I mean, he really hasn't changed much since season 1.
No character has, though. No character has changed or grown. There's been zero character development within the 8th. Apart from Shinra, sorry.
didn't Vice Captain had some pretty good kind of character growth of just kind of recognition of what, I guess not necessarily character change, but growth in that how far is he willing to push himself for his squad. It's always been apparent, but he's always kind of been words. And I think there was that moment underground where he was kind of putting his life on the line for people that weren't even in his squad. And I was like, okay, he's not all talk. So I guess it's more character fleshing out than rather hard pivots or hard changing.
You're probably right.
I can see
there.
that though. But you're right. Most often they're pretty stagnant. Question on that though, most characters like Arthur having a really, really sad backstory, but never touched again because they've been relegated to, say, a comedic role. Would you be more engaged if, the mangaka or whoever the powers that be pivot his character away from comedic, right? We lose that comedic aspect because, again, he's entertaining to some degree, but I do kind of wish he gets his arc, right? That he kind of breaks out of his shell and it stops using this Arthur myth as kind of a defense mechanism for that PTSD and kind of confronts it. There's room for that, I think, for him.
I think for me, the thing I would like to see Arthur as a character do is to not pivot away from the comedic stuff or not pivot away from being that kind of that tropey character. But I think a moment for me that would really pay off for his whole character would just be a realization that he doesn't have to pretend to be this holier than thou King Arthur character, because he is that King Arthur character. He is a knight who has repeatedly saved a bunch of lives and is always putting himself on the front line to help out. And he doesn't need to pretend to be this knight character that he's envisioning, because he is that character he's envisioning. And I think a moment like that would really pay off for me, for his whole character, where he can step away from the fantasy because his reality is that actual fantasy. Like, he doesn't need to pretend anymore. I think for me personally, that would pay off.
I couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah, that was inspirational as fuck. I mean, shit, you should be doing tours on that. It's like, you are the hero in that myth. Get out there. That is your reality. You could do it. Well, that's bars, homie. Bars. That's awesome.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush, boys. Come on. I think I'm at the end of my notes. I only have a few little things that I wanted to say. I love Vulcan as a character. I think his contribution to the the Tier 8 is great. I hate
and
Lisa
this girl
as
is
a character.
bad as fuck. Oh, she's bad though.
Oh man,
she bad though.
She domio thick, and I'm all about it. But also, I don't enjoy her as a character. I feel like her dynamic in the 8th is not too great when she's super hostile towards everyone else. But if she was to say be super friendly and eventually maybe put the Fire Force jacket on and get on the front lines, I could be all about that in a big way.
Yeah, you know,
they're
Vulcan
just so
would hit her up with all
forgiving,
that
man.
tech.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And Obi is obviously an amazing an amazing fire captain and a truly good character in this series who I enjoy.
You want to talk about thick? Obi is a thick, wide load. I love him. He is the epitome of badass captain, and he is unpowered. He is going in there. Totally
he's an
raw.
absolute dump truck of a man.
He's a dump truck, Tonka ass, like getting in there in the shit. Oh my god, like he is the if I were to have been dropped in a world like Fire Force and have no powers, I would just be like, go find Obi and just teach me, dude. I need this.
Yeah,
be able to do this.
And they justify him being such a beefcake because every scene where he's not fighting, he's just like lifting weights and doing bench presses and
yes,
like they justify it. Like in other characters like that in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, you never see Lieutenant Armstrong lifting weights. No, he's just a beefcake from day one. But no, Obi's out here fucking grinding every day, grinding.
Oh yes, getting there, getting up.
I respect that. So do you
So
boys
actually,
have
I have 3 more things actually.
Go for it. Go.
Oh.
So one, I was extremely frustrated that there wasn't more training with Benimaru, or like a lot of it, right? It felt like the end of last season that they were just straight up going to train with him for a while.
Yeah, agreed.
and it's like completely abandoned this season, which is wild because that leads into my second point, which now that we've kind of seen more of all these different squads, it's unbelievable how much stronger the 8th as a squad is, being so small, than like 90% of all Fire Force, fire soldiers. Like, these guys were getting picked off in the Nether like it was nothing.
Not really sure why. That's a good point. Yeah,
I mean,
we
do see some ridiculously strong characters from the other teams, but it never seems to be every member of the team is as strong as the 8th. Like the guy from the first who uses heat to turn into ice, which is some black magic witchcraft that makes no sense.
Yeah,
that is some baby back bullshit right there. I don't want to hear that. Actually frustrated me. I'm like, oh, you use heat to turn ice? I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
like
there's a
continue.
Show uses heat to stop the expansion of the universe, to stop time.
Yeah,
I
but that's anime as fuck.
And I believe that more than I believe someone using a bell to change heat waves into sound waves and sound waves into freezing. So yeah, I am on board with you on that one because like
I love it. Yeah.
There's also that really sick character from, I think, the 4th who goes to the Chinese peninsula with them, who uses like forge fire abilities.
Oh, yo.
What's his name?
Ugo or something?
Ugon or something like that.
He was wicked. I loved him, but yeah, there doesn't seem to be as many strong characters in the other Fire Force companies. I do agree with you on that one.
It's just, I think it's classic shonen kind of syndrome where everyone that we see just ends up being stronger than like all the other fodder from all the other squads. It's similar to like when you watch Naruto. Why are all the kids that we're watching like way better than every other shinobi in the freaking Leaf? It makes no sense, but because we spend so much time with them, the author can't let them be little like wussbacks in comparison. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like a fixable thing, but it is weird that they're just like little infernals were killing all those second Fire Force guys. And then my third thing is actually related to that one of the guys that went with them to the Chinese peninsula. And I was wondering if you guys caught it. The lieutenant who had the whistle. Did you catch his name?
No, I didn't catch his name.
What
What's
was
his name?
His name was Pert Copan.
That's bad.
Kurt Cobain.
Cobain. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I loved it.
I dig it.
How does pyrokinesis, the ability to control fire, grant you the ability to use a whistle to grant buffs?
I don't know.
They never explained that one.
It made no sense.
He's a bard.
No, he's a muse. He's a muse. Yeah.
You're right. He's a bard. For sure. I'm into that.
But yeah, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that. What did you think of Juggernaut, the character? Because I found his accent, maybe in the English dub, maybe one of the most grossest things I've ever heard.
Okay,
I watched the dub. I didn't catch that. Yeah,
you are talking to a person who lives in the South of America, and they were clearly trying to do a Southern accent, and it was abysmal, absolutely abysmal. It's like when I do my Australian accent to your ears, except infinitely worse.
Yeah, that was terrible. It was really bad.
All right, y'all. I mean, I watched it in sub. I guess I got to go watch at least the scene because you could tell in the subtitles that they were making it seem like some kind of drawl, right? It was very heavily thick accented, like apostrophes and missing G's everywhere. I get it. I get what they were going for, but I guess I got to go back and watch that dub just for that scene, or should I save myself the trouble with my ears? I don't know.
I go
I'm
for
curious
it.
now.
Yeah,
you'll know.
I'm gonna do it. I'll message you later, Ethan.
As someone who routinely watches stuff that's bad just for the sheer thrill of enjoying horrible things.
True.
Go for it.
True.
Dive in, boys.
Go for it.
But his
Do it.
character was a pain in the ass too. He's like one of those tropey characters where they can't die because they're just like always like unhittable. It's sort of like Tagoro's younger brother in whatever it's called, Yu Yu Hakusho, which was also annoying as hell.
But counterpoint, I liked his arc because he was so high defense and unhittable that when he finally kind of broke through his little arc of just like being an actual like soldier and protecting people, he put himself finally in harm's way because up to that point his character and his like powers kind of aligned very well. And then once he kind of changed his character, his power was no longer, it suited him in a different way. I liked it a lot. Then he went in with the big bad nuke and just fucked everything up. I don't know. I really enjoyed
it wasn't annoying.
Yeah.
Oh no, he was definitely annoying. I'm just saying he definitely had an arc that fit him. Like, it was proper for him. It felt concise. It felt nice. But yes, he was annoying up to that point, I would say. You can't hit the guy. What are you gonna do? He wears like 17 coats.
Yeah. Nah. So do you boys have any final thoughts? Or are we gonna give this a rating now?
Final thoughts. Y'all convinced me it's not as good as I thought it was, but it's still still a solid show. I'll give it that. I'm in for next season. How's that?
Yeah, I think it was good. Overall, like, solid, absolutely serviceable. I just think that this season kind of got away from them a little bit, and I think, Phillip, from what you're saying, it kind of sounds like you feel the same way. And I just feel like, it's a little bit, let's say, disappointing because of how gorgeous the show is, and like, how cool I think the powers could be and stuff like that to be in the kind of situation we're in. But I think, obviously, if you guys haven't watched this show, first of all, we just spoiled everything. But second of all, you should at least watch it if you just enjoy action. And I think, if you turn your brain off to like some of the gaping holes in the story, you'll like it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this falls into that category of like, it's like anime junk food. Like, I know it's bad for me, and I know it's probably detrimental to my overall health in general. But I keep going back to it because it's good, man. It is good. It's the KFC 3-piece feed of anime. Like, it's a lot of chicken. It's a lot of fat. There's a lot of stuff in there that's probably not doing me any good. But I'm a keep getting it every day. I'm gonna keep.
I like that so much. Fire Force is the KFC of anime. You know it's bad for you, but I'm gonna eat the whole bucket anyway. I'm gonna sit there and eat the whole damn bucket.
So yeah, for me, Fire Force is probably not getting it in general, but getting it as well. It's right in the middle line of being something I very much enjoy and something that I find has a lot of flaws. So, if you boys was to say overall if it's getting it or not getting it, where would you fall?
Let's see.
I think it's almost like my rating system of a broad overall category is completely flawed and a bad idea from the day dot, but I'm too stubborn to change. So yeah,
I like it because you can kind of like fall in this kind of soft gradient somewhere. On our show, we're hard numbers, baby. It's a laboratory. You got to give hard facts. But I like this that you kind of have. I think it is. I think it's getting it. But it's not quite at like the end of that getting it scale, right? I think it has all the pieces. I think it has so many good pieces, it doesn't really know how to tie them together. And like you said, if they slow down, take a breath, really give like one season a good story in one aspect of the world to concentrate at a time, it's gonna get it. But it needs to stop trying to get so much, right? It's doing too many things, but it'll do it beautifully. David Production is what makes me think. David Production can get it.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, sure. So I'm gonna answer on my scale instead of yours because I really just don't know what I would call this.
No, that's fair. So I think I'll just edit it out anyway. So just go nuts.
Fair enough.
He's and the god of this new world.
And you know what? That doesn't bother me at all. I think personally, I would say season 1 was significantly better than this, and I'd give that probably an 80 combustible humans out of 100, and then this season I'll give it like a 69 combustible humans out of 100.
That's hot.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, that's hot.
Right, so we'll move into the next segment. This is the Moldy Cheese segment. This is a segment of the show where we take a look at the various shows that aired on Cheese TV and we decide whether it's aged like fine cheese or if it's just moldy. This week on the menu, it's the 1998 Australian animated series Little Elvis Jones and the Truck Stoppers. Let's hear that intro.
Here's the story, Sonny Jim, and I swear every word is true. To a Pullman star on a desert night in a Cadillac of golden light, on a plumber by a truck stop door, he left a prize. A rock and roll surprise for Len and Grace, a little baby boy in a guitar case, and whom mom and dad could hardly believe their eyes.
And as the caddy vanished into the night, I was sure we'd been touched by the king.
So they call me Little Elvis, and Mum reckons I'm the son of the king. A little Elvis sucker. I was born with a gift to sing. So with Janet and Lionel, we made a band, spreading didgeridoo music across the land. The truck stoppers and Little Elvis Jones.
Thank you very much.
There's that ripping intro. So I sent you guys both a link to Little Elvis Jones and the Truck Stoppers. Did you watch it? I think you both watched it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I gave it 2 episodes. I couldn't even give it the religion of 3.
Wow, I gave it the religion of 3. But completely understandable if you don't, because nostalgia pulled me through about 2.5 episodes, I reckon.
So this is something you did watch as a kid, correct?
That's the question, yeah.
Okay, so the caveat of this section is the Moldy Cheese segment, normally going through shows that aired on Cheese TV. This didn't technically air on Cheese TV, but I thought for for my first international guest, I'd share with you a bit of True Blue Ocker history. So yeah, I did watch this show growing up on ABC over here in Australia. I feel like everyone my age and younger and older would know this show. The people I've spoken to this show about at work over the last week or so, and the Dorktown boys as well. Everyone knows this show. Everyone's aware of this show. It's probably the most well-known Australian animated series.
Get out of
town,
of its time. Now it would be Bluey. I don't know if you guys know what Bluey is, but it's
of course not.
You have to know. The answer is no, right?
Yeah. It's literally Australia's biggest export when it comes to TV series, and it's a cartoon series about a young blue heeler family of dogs that go through hardships. And anyway, we're not talking about Bluey. Fuck. How did I get distracted?
Fuck that. That's awesome.
So what did you guys think? What did you guys think of as non-Australians watching Little Elvis and the Truck Stoppers?
Can I go first?
Things you can fucking okay. I'm gonna let Ethan go off the rip. I can feel his energy from here. Rip it off. I want to hear.
I'm just I'm extremely confused. Okay, so me and Ricky are both from the South. We're from South Carolina, which is like. Honestly, we could get to Tennessee, where Elvis is from, in like less than 5 hours, like way less than 5 hours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like baffled because he's not even that famous here, right? And definitely not in the 90s, late 90s. So like, what's up with Australia to where that they're just like infatuated with Elvis as recent as 1997 or 8?
Man, I think it's I don't know, like. Just for personal experience, I know both my grandparents, both my nans, on both sides of the family, both had Elvis Presley memorabilia all through their house, and it's a common thing for a lot of older generations of Australians to be quite obsessed with the King himself. So yeah, I mean, I was well aware who Elvis was before this series came out, and I think like it wasn't even a learning curve just to know that who Elvis was for me when I first watched this. So yeah, he's weirdly big over here. Again, it's just Australians latch on to the weirdest things, and it doesn't really have any rhyme or reason.
I will say that hearing that actually kind of validates one of the things I noticed is that this kid, at least from the outset, or at least from the show's opening, is that he was dropped off at a like nowhere stop, like a gas stop in the middle of a desert, and the kid was kind of indoctrinated into the Elvis fandom and everything like that from his parents, or I guess his faux parents. So I mean, I guess that plays into like parents watching this with their kids, or just kind of being around their kids watching it. They could probably relate, like, we like the Elvis. So the kid being kind of indoctrinated into that makes it like a unique thing. That's my guess, because the Elvis felt really out of nowhere.
He was dropped off in a golden guitar case, which clearly means it could only come from Elvis. The little synopsis they have on their Wikipedia is it's truly great. I'll read it out now. The story follows a group of children and their adventures in the outback Australia. The title character of the series, Little Elvis, is a 10-year-old boy with the weight of the world on his shoulders. Little Elvis has the gift for music, a talent for trouble, and a desire for one thing only, to find out who he really is and to be a normal kid. He is raised by his foster parents, truck stop propertiers Grace and Len, who are fervent fans of Elvis Presley. As little Elvis is musically talented, singing and playing guitar, his foster mother is convinced he is the son of the king, Elvis Presley himself. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, no. First off, no.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot in this series.
Hold on. I got no indication that he was on a mission to find out, like, his origins or who he really is. He seemed pretty clear about that. I'm a musician. I don't want to be Elvis. I want to, be the king, right? I just want to be that. He seemed pretty feverish about he knows what he wants to do.
And no part of the 3 episodes that I watched did ever come across that he wants to be normal kid, because a normal kid doesn't have a rockabilly digi-billy band. And, he's not doing anything that normal kids would do. He's always just doing the wildest shit imaginable. Wow.
Can we break down that band real quick? Instrument-wise, we have a drummer, a guitarist, and a didgeridoo player.
Correct,
Is this a common trio in Australia? Am I missing something? I feel like there's...
Yeah, no. All our bands have didgeridoo players in it. It's just a thing we do.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I'm fucking with you. This is.
I was gonna say, there's no way he's telling the truth.
It's so weird, and the only good thing, or there is a few good things, but one good thing in this is the young Indigenous boy that is one of his friends that plays the didgeridoo in the band. He is actually voiced by an Indigenous person who is part of a mob up near Cairns, I believe. I think I read. And that kind of representation in Australian media was basically unheard of at the time. Like there was no Indigenous characters on any shows that I was watching, so that is a really good thing. And they do an actual pretty good job of being. I don't know if you noticed, but the actual town that this is centered in has a bunch of people from different cultural backgrounds. Like there's the Greeks, there's the Italians. There is.
That's true. I saw that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It is pretty represented. A good representation of what a small rural Australian community tends to be, and that is quite multicultural from the get go. So that does have it in in a pro column for it, but. On the other side, fuck, this show's a steaming pile of shit. Oh, it's so bad.
It's pretty bad. I mean,
I gotta ask.
Yes.
The accent I heard sounded like they were obviously Australian, but it sounded like they were Australian trying to do a Southern accent.
I mean, this is one of those Australian shows that it happened all throughout the 90s and early 2000s where anytime Australian production companies would make a show, they clearly only made it for American audiences. So they turned up the Aussie accents to the nth degree, where it's so ochre and so cartoonishly Australian that it's clearly trying to play for an American market. Because that's where the money was, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, for Little Elvis and the Truck Stoppers, the Americans were lining up for that shit for sure. But so the one thing I wanted to mention, the setting being this kind of rundown stop in every direction, nothing else as far as the eye can see, really, at least from the outset. Is it kind of, would this be like a familiar kind of, I don't know, I was thinking that this is kind of taking place in like Central Australia,
Yeah, this definitely is this trying to give a Central Australia vibe, but that general aesthetic of like a truck stop in the middle of buttfuck nowhere is something, for me personally, that rings pretty true, because I spent 4 years working at a truck stop in the middle of buttfuck nowhere on an abandoned highway.
Really?
Oh yeah, I worked at like a servo, as we call them down here, a servo that on a good night I may have seen 7 people.
Wow.
May have seen 7 people, like on an abandoned highway on a truck stop. Like it was a ghost town. So that I do kind of that aesthetic is kind of true, and they did kind of nail a fair bit of the aesthetic of a small rural town. Like, you do see some great Aussie staples throughout here, like just some real cultural touchstones, like rat tails haircuts. I don't know if you know what a rat tail haircut is, but it's
we do.
aware.
Great.
I'm keenly aware. Yeah,
there is a few spectacular rat tails in this series.
We're in the South, man.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
We can acquaint you with the mullet.
Yes, the mullet is alive and well in Australia.
The close cousin.
Good. It's a close cousin for sure. Oh man. So I kind of really enjoyed how kind of insanely villainous W.C. Moore was, right?
I'm glad we got to him.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to him.
He's like comedically, like, I think the first scene we saw with him is that he went out of his way. He didn't even put his window down. He only put his window down for his driver, but he opened the whole damn door to basically flick an infinity stone, crush these kids' marbles, send them back in time, and then it zapped back onto his basically taser ring. And again, I was just like, I am in for this fucking dude. This is the guy I want to follow. What is W.C. Moore's life like? That's what I wanted.
And that is a weirdly, like, I remember that trope throughout the whole series, that anytime there's a game of marbles involved, he always just rocks through, flicks his infinity stone, collects all the marbles, and just drives off in his limousine, and it's just
It's inevitable.
It's like, is that how you made your money? Is your empire built on stolen marbles of children? Like, how? I don't
sort
get
of.
it.
He sells it back to him.
They said he was
like,
a mining magnate, which
which
is a big deal in Australia. Actually, is mining.
I would be. I think I'm. I don't know if I'm talking out of class here, but I wouldn't be too surprised if he's based on an Australian mining magnate. I don't know if he's a mining magnate, but Clive Palmer, who's like he's Australia's Donald Trump, but we just didn't give him the platform to speak.
Wise choice.
Yeah. We sectioned him off in a small end of the country where no one goes and left him there. But yeah,
oh my God.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if his character was based on Clive Palmer. But his villain moments throughout the whole series are so like ridiculously villainous, but in like a human way, where he wants people to sign contracts with high interest rates so he can foreclose on their houses. Like that's some fucking adult level villainy right there. Like, that's not just like
some real shit.
Poisoning the water supply. That's like, no, I want to cripple you and bankrupt you and take the house from under your feet. Like, that is truly villainous. It's horrific to think about.
I mean, it's pretty common, man. You got to get on those predatory real estate deals, man.
Yeah. I'm looking up.
We'll teach you how to be an American businessman yet.
You got it. Yep. Step 1, sue.
Predatory.
Step 2, counter-sue. Yeah, predatory shit. Real predatory shit. I looked up Clive Palmer, and he does have iron ore, nickel, and you got me looking up. And you know what? Very well could be. Which, it's almost funny, right? I guess it's a kid show thing where obviously you have to make, you're there. Okay, I'm not saying Little Elvis Jones and the Truck Stoppers are trying to teach lessons, because I sure as shit didn't learn anything. But it's obvious kids shows are trying to do real black and white shit is evil. There's a moral, stuff like that. But W.C. Moore, he clearly takes it to such a far level that even when you think back as an adult, you still understand him as a villain, not because it was clearly depicted that way. It's because he was doing legitimately adult villainous shit, which is really funny that he's a villain in perpetuity. He's a villain for your entire life. That's good writing to me. That's a pro for me.
If at any point in your life you're on his side, you're a bad guy. There's no point if you're ever siding with him and his views, like, you are an awful human being. That's so yeah. I suppose you can give credit for good writing on that one. I'm gonna go as far to say that there's not many other good credits you can give this show, because it does. And I've watched a bunch of these shows because of this dumb segment of my podcast. I've watched a lot of trash.
I love this segment.
Yeah, it's slowly chipping away at my self pride and dignity and all those things. I don't actually know if I can be a reasonable judge on whether anything's good or not, because I've polluted my brainwaves with so much nonsense that at some point I think my taste and judgment will be forever skewed towards the negative. That being said, I think it's not out of turn to say that there is not much in this show when you scratch the very limited surface there is. There's not a whole bunch here. There was not a lot of love put into the animation. There was not a lot of love put into the characters. There was not a lot of love put into the music in general. For someone who's a singing prodigy and whose, you know, digibilly music was supposed to be played across the world, as he would say.
Yeah, right.
There's not a lot of love put in behind it. So for me, I don't think I can call this show a getting it. Are you boys on the same page?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I'm gonna say yes, but with your explanation you just laid out, all of that being said, why did it get it as one of the most celebrated kids shows of the time? Was it because everything else was just that much worse? Or was there something to this that's stuck in the brains? Because, I mean, like you said, you just said that it is, talk to coworkers, talk to anybody right now, it is known. This show is known. So what did it do? Did it just hit at the right place and time, or I don't know?
I would just say that being that the only other Australian animated TV series I can remember is one about koalas that fly planes and rescue hurt animals in the outback, and I can't remember much about that. I think it's just the most memorable.
That sounds sick.
I think it's mainly the only one there. I think that's it. I think it's memorable because it's when you talk about it, and it got a bunch of playtime on the air too because it was an Australian series.
Fair.
I think it was wildly available, and the only one of its kind is why it's remembered.
Only one of its kind is definitely something to say about it. Oh, let me be clear. This didn't get it. Oh, I'm not. But I heard you just kind of like knock it, and you're like, okay, cool. But like, you know, we have in the States like SpongeBob. Every human being knows SpongeBob.
What's SpongeBob?
I mean, in
Shut
America.
up.
No, I'm fine.
I'm just kidding. I know. But
Ricky's
again,
gonna believe
again,
it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna believe it. You could say anything, I'd probably believe it. But at the same time, that show, you could tell the guy that made it is a marine biologist. Everything that show exudes effort, right? And there's just a lot put into it. So I think there's something to be said about. And that was in a landscape where we had dozens, and I mean dozens of cartoons.
Ricky, can you think of any cartoon that was as bad as this that we had in the 90s?
That was as bad as this in the 90s.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go back and think.
I could probably
People I
name
mean
some
really
that
bad.
I've reviewed on this segment previously. In all honesty,
Yeah.
or there's been Big Bad Beetleborgs was fucking. I hate that show.
Don't you fucking not Beetleborgs. Don't you knock Beetleborgs.
Okay,
Yeah,
you go
that's
back.
wild.
You go back and you watch
this is
3
pure
episodes
nostalgia.
of Big Bad Beetleborgs and see if you don't want to take a Phillips head screwdriver straight through your ear canal and wiggle it around a bunch. It is heinous.
You don't think I know that? You don't think I know that? That's my ugly stepchild. I love that thing. It's ugly as shit, but it's mine. It is mine. I'm totally in your camp.
Man, there's a few from that era that like American ones that have been particularly bad, but Big Bad Beetleborg sticks out as the worst. But if you're talking strictly cartoons, or Bruno the Kid was on last week's episode, I think, and that was real not great.
I forgot about Bruno the Kid.
Voiced
ever
and stars
seen it.
Bruce Willis. Voiced and stars Bruce Willis. It's wild.
I know.
But it's got a
Holy shit,
slapping
I forgot
intro.
about
So
that.
I'm pretty sure I
does.
controversially called that one, said that was getting it for intro alone because it's a slapping intro.
That's the only thing I remember is Bruno the Kid's intro.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
certain
good.
that I haven't seen this.
I'll send you a clip
Also-
later. It's fine.
Mark Hamill is
Yeah, it's
apparently in it, so
He is in it. Yes.
Holy shit, you're right. I'm looking
Yeah.
at this now.
I should probably. So we're definitely saying this isn't getting it. So I'll play the little not getting it thing. Jesus Christ.
Dirty fuckers. Bloody hell. There's mold all up the sides too. Oh, Jesus Christ.
What's
Look
that?
at the fucking mold on that. This is absolutely
Oh, yeah, there is a bad
disgusting.
movie. So there you have it. Bruno the Kid. Not Bruno the fucking hell. Little Elvis Jones. Little Elvis Jones and the Truck Stoppers is fucking moldy as shit. Bruno the Kid's pretty good still. Good Lord, man. We've been going for an hour and a half, boys, so we should probably get into some plugs. Do you guys want to plug your show? I'll link everything in the show notes below, but plug away.
Wait, just really, really fast. I want to tell you some
go
things
nuts.
about Elvis in Australia that might surprise you. Okay, so I did some research because I was like, okay, did Elvis even ever go to Australia? Like, is the premise of the show just completely fucked? The answer, he never went to Australia. So he wanted to very badly. He wanted to go tour Australia, but his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, wouldn't let him. And so he literally broke up like his whole band kind of thing over this and basically fired Colonel Tom Parker. Then he tried to get some other like manager to take him overseas to go do some stuff in Australia, Japan, etc. But nobody would touch him because they were all like very loyal to Colonel Tom Parker. And so essentially they went like his entire life without being able to ever go to Australia. And so after Elvis dies, they go and they ask Colonel Tom, like, why didn't you let him go to Australia? Turns out Colonel Tom was an illegal alien from Holland who literally wouldn't have been able to get back into the U.S. if he had gone.
Oh, wow.
It's just a wild story.
That's a nice twist. Hey, y'all, if you want more deep dive research like that, but also the funnies and good linguistics and riffing, come over to Weebology Podcast.
Good plug.
Nice.
How's that? Thank you. You can find us anywhere, Apple, Spotify, everything in between. If it's got podcasts, we're probably on it. We do vidcasts sometimes. We've had a very dense guest lists lately, so not a lot of videos, but we have one coming up the most recent week. We had Phillip on last week at the time of recording, and it's an absolute banger. You should go listen to it because we talk about something awful. I won't even say it here, but
don't sully my podcast with his name, thank you.
Yeah, check it. You're so welcome. Yeah, I wouldn't drink
ours.
Yeah, you can find us anywhere. Instagram at weebology.podcast. We got memes, news.
Oh, please, boys. Please, boys. Can I say it properly?
So
You've
check
got
us out
memes
over
on
there.
memes on news. Thank you. Do it right.
Thank you.
Memes on memes on news.
That's
Memes
my
on
boy.
memes on news, and sometimes giveaways. Yeah, there it is. And if you want to give us any monetary love, only if you can. Patreon.com/Weebology. You're not giving us money for nothing. $1 gets you in the Discord, and Phillip's in there too. All of our past guests are. And $3 and up, we have a side show called Syllabus Sidebar, our lo-fi, high vibes, sometimes anime, sometimes not, riffing about life show.
It's been an absolute pleasure to get you boys on here, and I'm sure one day in the future we'll get you back to talk about some more anime and some more nonsense. We'll probably wrap it up there, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure you leave a 5-star review for this podcast and the Weebology podcast. If you want to get in touch with the Dorktown podcast, just email us at lordsofdorktown@gmail.com. Yeah, check us out on the socials at Lords of Dorktown everywhere, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, although Twitter scares me and Facebook is dead, so Instagram is the place to be. It's been a pleasure, boys. Thanks for coming on so much. We'll sign it off there. Keep it dorky, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.